but it is really a great day. First, I want to thank Kimberly Bassett for that welcome. She was just over there. Kimberly is a powerhouse angel of N Street Village, but she's also now a powerhouse angel for the District of Columbia in her new role as Secretary of State. Congratulations, Kimberly. And I also want to acknowledge the family of Alberta Williams. You just saw Alberta Williams in that video, and she passed away recently, and I want to thank her family for being here today, wherever you are. And one thing I can tell you for sure is that the echo of your mother's spirit is still all around us, and it's going to stay. And I also want to acknowledge the entire board of N Street Village, led by our chair, Peter Shields, and our vice chair, Ruth Sorensen. Would the board of N Street Village please stand up? You are a group of thoughtful and ambitious leaders, and it is a pleasure and a privilege to work with you. And I also want to acknowledge the Ambassadors Council, many of whom are here today and many of whom have a lot of responsibility for this luncheon. May I ask the Ambassadors Council to stand up and be recognized? Their numbers are increasing. I think they're actually recruiting on the spot here today. So be careful. Be careful. I have had the privilege of being the CEO at N Street Village for a long time, and having been at N Street Village since 2003 when I first came as the Director of Programs. And it is a remarkable journey, and I want to share one element of the journey about where we are today with you. I was at our emergency shelter not long ago and had the chance to visit with some of the residents. There I met Queenie, a tall African-American woman who had just come from work. She told me proudly that she had just turned 60, but she could still keep up with her younger colleagues at the DC Public School where she works. Queenie had come to the shelter a month earlier, and she was still astonished to find herself there. She couldn't really imagine how this had happened. She talked about how her rent kept going up over the years, and her pay lagged farther and farther behind. And then one final day, she found herself evicted. She described having to choose what she would take from her apartment. How much could she fit in her bags? How many bags could she carry? After we'd talked for a while, Queenie said, "So when do I get housing?" I'm accustomed to this question, but it is always hard to hear. In the back of my mind, the realities rattle uncomfortably. This January, over 6,500 people in the District of Columbia were experiencing homelessness. And there are thousands of people on the waiting list for rental assistance, so many that the list is closed. I could only tell Queenie that we would work with her as hard as possible, but I simply didn't know the answer. Homelessness is only the tip of the iceberg of poverty, underneath which racism and discrimination breed inequity in all areas of women's health and well-being, especially for African American women who are 9 times as likely to experience homelessness as their white counterparts, and whose life expectancy is lower by a full 9 years. But data is not destiny for any one individual. Witness the village leaders that we just watched in the video. Lolita, Karen, Evelyn, Rosalind, Carlita, Rose, Alberta, Catherine, and the extraordinary inspiration of my friend Patrina, from whom you will hear shortly. With determination and grit, these women found the resources they needed and reclaimed the lives they wanted. Health, housing, employment, family. And I will tell you that every single one of those women has become an N Street Village volunteer, and 2 of them have become N Street Village staff people. Their impulse of generosity and practice of gratitude is a tribute to their characters and is a lesson for us all. At the end of my conversation with Queenie, she became quiet and she said, "I need to tell you this," and she pointed to the hall and the floor. "This isn't me." "Yes," I said, feeling what she meant. "This isn't you, Queenie. Homeless isn't you." Queenie was telling us the very thing that we know in our hearts to be true, that she is a whole and worthy individual with a full life story behind her, but now she feared becoming reduced to just homeless. Someone invisible, someone expendable. But your presence here today is testimony to the antidote for her fear. The antidote is that when we are in touch with the raw truth that we are indeed all more alike than we are different, and that it is only mere accidents of fate or privilege that differentiate us. When we're in touch with that, then you are not here today giving charity, you are here today doing justice. You are affirming the worth and dignity of every individual and insisting on equal access to housing, health, and well-being for everyone. No exceptions, no one left behind. You are saying that we run on a different economy. We run on a marketplace of equity and a currency of compassion, and we make a daily commitment to the exchange of interpersonal justice in all of our encounters. That is us. I saw Queenie again at the shelter a couple weeks later, and she told me that her church had donated new shower curtains and a geranium for the dining room. "Brightens it up a little," she said. When I asked her whether I could share her story with you here today and if she would prefer that I use a pseudonym, she did not hesitate. "Please tell them," she said, "and use my name. I want them to know who I am." Every day, at least one new woman arrives at our front door for the very first time. Thank you for being there to greet her. Thank you for being there to seek justice and to embrace hope. Thank you for welcoming each and every woman in her full humanity and by her own true name.